Well, I put us on the record, so for the sake of everyone watching, let's kind of kick off the blab. I'll introduce us, and then Blake will Blake will roll in with how blab works. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We're the App Show, a weekly webcast interviewing the most amazing UFO abducted individuals in the world. My name is Will Lopez. I'm founder of AdvisorFi.com, based out of South Florida. I'm one of your co-hosts. Also co-hosting with me is Blake Oliver of HPCCPA.com. Super awesome gentleman, swell guy. Also joining us is the owner of ComedyCPE.com, centerfold of sexy accountants, and just an overall swell guy. Greg Kyte, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, and I hope we do put up some images of sexy CPA centerfolds, maybe in the show notes or something like that.
Yeah, we'll take you there. You may not want to click on the link though.
We should definitely make that happen. Who's that guy that from the Academy Awards that looks like Matt Damon? That account? He could definitely.
Oh yeah, I know. I know who you're talking about. I remember that. So, yeah. But I don't remember his name.
I don't either. Nobody does, right? We're accountants.
Yeah, he'd be July.
He'd be July. Is that the good month? I've never.
Yeah, that's prime real estate in sexy calendars.
Oh, because that's where the fold is.
That's right.
Okay, got it. Well, before we get into it, I just want to make sure everyone knows how Blab works. So you can send a message in the bottom right. On the right-hand sidebar, you've got chat going on. You can chat. You can mention folks. I will chat with you. We also have a way to share what's going on. So if you'd love to share this out to your Twitter followers, I should say that we would love if you shared this with your Twitter followers or on Facebook. And there used to be a Twitter share button, but I don't even see that anymore. Did it go away for you guys too? I just see something that says share last 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Blab is changing things up.
Blab is changing things up on us. And if you have a question for Greg, you can also ask the question by typing /Q in the chat. Hey, Brendo, good day to you as well.
So, Greg, today's topic is the cloud is boring. I read your blog, your blog or your article on Thrival's website, which, by the way, I have the Thrival mug.
Look at that. This guy's got it going on. And your bloomer glasses.
I'm the Hispanic bloomer. I'm South Florida version.
You are Señor Blumero.
Blumero. Exactly.
Del Grupo Trivial. It's good.
But today's topic is that the cloud is boring. So, I mean, I kind of want to let you kind of just kick it off with, like, how did you get there? I read your article and it was so hysterical. I was dying laughing throughout the whole thing.
Good. It actually, the way I got there, we did because we've started doing some blabs with Rival as well, and I want to say you guys were actually the touchstone for Jason to even know what blab is. And we at Thrival decided to copy you guys at the App Show and do our own thing. So we're piggybacking off of your inspiration. Anyways, we started brainstorming topics that we could do on our blab, and Jason just kind of threw out, hey, for the first one, actually, because we procrastinate a lot. So I think it was like we should brainstorm ideas for our blabs, and we didn't. And then he was like maybe we could do something about the cloud. And I was and then I knew that had to be our topic for our first blab was the cloud. And my initial reaction was just like, I am so bored with the cloud now because here's the thing, the cloud is like nothing. No one cares about the cloud. I mean, before it, like, there's people who, like, their entire reputation within the accounting community is like they're these champions of the cloud, and it's like no one cares anymore about it. It was cool and it was amazing, 3 and 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when it was like, holy crap, I can do everything that I need to do from work or from home or from the train or from my client's office or something like that. But now we're so used to it and it's so ingrained where it's just like, it's just another thing and there's nothing to be excited about. That's it in a nutshell.
Well, Greg, it might just be that you are a super early adopter, because I still talk to accountants who are like afraid of hosting their email.
Really?
In the cloud. Yeah.
See that? Okay. Well, let me tell you a couple things about early adopters. So that's one of the things I've been thinking about with the cloud. Is I'm like going, the cloud is so entrenched that it's got to be, and maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just in a weird. I have a weird point of view inside the entire accounting world. But in my mind, you're finally at the place where I assume cloud is like late majority, because think of all the stuff we do at Facebook is cloud based, and it's always been cloud based, and we use that every day. And nobody's like, hey, Facebook's so awesome because it's a cloud based app. It's like, no one cares. It's always been like that, and it's always been there.
Well, I know accountants who are not on Facebook, so
yeah,
I don't. What do they do with all their free time?
I don't know.
What do you do when you're going to the bathroom if you don't have Facebook?
How do they get any sort of positive feedback from strangers? That's another thing that I don't understand if you're not on.
Right.
Well, how do you look at Facebook when you're right-handed and going to the bathroom? So, that's really the question.
Sit down, dummy.
I mean, I work from home. If I don't have Facebook, I don't get social interaction. I would be like a recluse.
Right. Well, me too. I don't know if you noticed my office here, but it's 4,500 square feet of nobody but me. So same kind of thing. I work in a vast sea of isolation. And
yeah, we just lost your video. Actually, apparently you are in such a remote location that the signal cannot handle the video feed.
Well, it's a pretty overwhelmingly cool place that I work. So, are you still getting my audio?
Yeah, we got your audio loud and clear, which is nice.
Maybe it'll come through. On my little blab screen, is still capturing me. So,
yeah, I still see you. And I'm actually kind of jealous of your office and the sunlight coming in as if you're being abducted.
Uh-huh.
I would agree with you. I mean, I went to, nothing against Doug Sleater, who puts on an awesome conference at SleaterCon. Right. Yeah. But I went to SleaterCon in Las Vegas, and I went to a seminar, one of those CPE sessions where it was about the cloud, how we should adopt the cloud. And I literally sat in the back just shaking my head, just rubbing my temples and like trying to keep my blood pressure from rising.
Was that the most recent SleaterCon?
That was at the most recent SleaterCon.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
And well, I think it was for like the laggard majority. So you know how there's that bell curve? I think it's for these guys that are like way over here type thing.
Yeah.
So it's still a topic of conversation, and you're right. Like this is so old. It's done. It's over with.
Right.
You need to embrace it. You're way behind the times. You're going to die like the dinos.
Right.
So,
well, I think people who are still championing, I mean, this is something I think I said in that blog post, is that I feel like people who are still championing the people who see themselves as champions of the cloud are a lot like the Civil War reenactors, where it's like, it's done. The war's over. Nobody needs to relive that. Just get on board and get in line and stop making a big deal about it, because it's not a big deal. Because I think right now, as people look at different software that they use, all that they're caring about is, does this software meet my needs? The biggest concern that accountants had about the cloud getting going was security. Is the sensitive, confidential information going to be secure on the cloud? And my take on that is that everybody's like, it's as secure or more secure than stuff that you have on premise. Or the other thing is, if Home Depot and Target and Ashley Madison can get hacked, there is no such thing as confidential information anymore. Everything's susceptible. So I think the security issues are just gone. It's kind of like us in privacy. Privacy doesn't exist anymore. Google knows more about me than I know about me. So give up on it.
Yeah, and quick shout out to at ignition_Brendo. I mean, he said something hysterical here. He says, when someone asks me if my software is cloud-based, it usually means it's time to hang up the phone. And I would totally agree.
That's awesome. That's a good indicator.
It's a huge indicator.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, how you doing, Practice Ignition guy? Brando.
Yeah,
good to have you here.
We actually Blake and I just finished a 3-part series on Practice Ignition. So if anyone goes to blab.im/appshowhq, we spent some time with Guy Pearson, and they're rolling out some crazy, awesome features that are just going to revolutionize the accounting industry, or anybody really professional industry.
We interviewed Guy on our podcast, and he blew our minds. That guy's moving and shaking and making things happen. It's impressive.
Yeah. So, I mean, what else besides? I mean, so how do we get accountants to stop going to CPEs that are about the cloud? Like, how do we dissuade them from doing something like that? To just actually, there was a guy here in the Palm Beaches was trying to acquire, our firm and stuff like that, and he basically looked at our model, of cloud-based model. He just literally said to us, "It's just not sustainable." And I looked at him like, "What are you talking about? Like,
wait.
I'm still in business. How do you mean that I'm not sustainable?"
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, because that's what is that like? That's like somebody, somebody like somebody who's a leg warmer manufacturer saying that the yoga pants industry is not sustainable. Because think about, I mean, there are, and I wish I could think of specific examples, but I know that there are technology companies. You guys might know better than I do. I know there's technology companies who are discontinuing their premise-based services and forcing people to adopt their cloud-based services. They're just going, we're not doing this crap anymore. You got to do this other crap. Do you guys know of any specific examples of that? Because I swear on my mother's grave, she's not dead yet, but I swear on her grave that's happening.
If you go on the Intuit product forums, it's basically people terrified that Intuit's going to discontinue QuickBooks Desktop and force everyone to go to QuickBooks Online.
Yeah, which they should. QuickBooks, Intuit's been, in my estimation, Intuit's been really dumb that they haven't been just dumping all of their resources into. They've been putting more effort into their online product lately, but they should have been doing that for the last 7 years to make that their premier item, not like they're orphaned. Yeah. I guess we got this because some people want it, so we'll put the minimum amount of work into this thing to make it barely capable of doing what it's supposed to do. They should have been doing that all along, and that's why Xero is such a huge player right now, because they came in and said, we'll make an amazing cloud-based accounting application, because clearly Intuit's not going to do it, so we'll fill that gap, and they've been kicking some ass there doing that.
Well, and the problem, and I don't understand how this happened from a strategy standpoint, why is the QuickBooks Online interface so different from the desktop interface? Because if you want to get people to switch, you're just going to piss them off a lot. And I think that's what's been happening, is that people are, it's not the same, right? So they have a double challenge.
Right. And somebody, I can't remember who I was talking with, but somebody said that they thought that was the problem with QuickBooks Online, is that Intuit was trying to make it feel exactly like the desktop, but it's just not possible. And I'm thinking, no, I think it's possible. I think you can make it feel. I'm not a computer engineer, so I'm kind of talking out of my butt on that. But I mean, you can do so much amazing stuff and make that user interface so amazing that again, they just haven't. They've chosen not to deploy their resources in a real forward-looking manner to make that product what it could be and what it should be. And instead, it gets to be my whipping boy on my Twitter account, where anytime there's some kind of product release, anytime there's news about QuickBook Online, I get to I bash it on there. But Will, going back to what you said, this is an interesting thing. You said, how can we get accountants to stop going to CPs about the cloud and just accept it and say it's here, get used to it? And even Blake, it goes back to something that you said before. I don't consider myself to be an early adopter at all. I that's not my mindset. But what I've done, and this has not been like a conscious choice of mine. This is just how my life has unfolded. I've wound up being part of these communities of accountants where they're all early adopters, and so I'm like hanging out with these people who it's like, oh, here's something that's shiny and new. Let's check that out. And I'm the last guy in that group to like get on board. But then I think if you look at the bigger picture of the world, I'm the laggard in my early adopter group, which still makes me an early adopter, or at least one of the first of the early majority to get on board of something. And I think that's a very, very real thing, is that if accountants can network with people who are excited about technology, even if you're not excited about even if you are scared of technology, just find people who have raging boners for technology and figure out what their boners about, and let them figure out what sucks and what doesn't suck. Exactly. When I was doing my MBA, one of my professors had this phrase. He said, "The second mouse gets the cheese." And it's not so much the early bird gets the worm; it's the second mouse gets the cheese. Be the second mouse. Don't be the 150th mouse. Be the second mouse and get the cheese. Have these people who love playing around with technology, play around with it. But you be their best friend, so the stuff that really works, you can jump on that and get that damn cheese.
Well, I think you're in the perfect spot, because if you're too early with adopting technology, you often get burned. So You've picked a good spot. You let your friends get burned, and then you do everything that works.
My friends.
You're like, oh yeah, you should try that new cloud application.
That sounds really interesting. Tell me how that goes.
Yeah, please try it with a couple of your clients and report back.
Yeah, right. But that's the other thing, and not just get burned because they obviously technology gets less expensive over time, and you get there. And that, like with me, I just I don't work at a CPA firm. I work in industry, so I'm an in-house CPA for a group of medical office buildings. And one of the things that we did starting this year is we had 5 tax returns that were being prepared by the outside CPA firm. Just this year, I'm bringing 3 of those tax returns in-house, so I'm preparing them this year. But I haven't had any tax software, so I go to my community in Thrival. I get on our little intra web social media, Yammer. We use Yammer. I don't know if you guys have talked about Yammer on here yet, but so I get on Yammer and I ask them. I go, hey, I got 3 tax returns. That's it. What's a trusted? What should I do for software? And I get like 15 replies of people like figuring out my problem for me. And not only that, I find out. So I landed on Intuit Tax Online as being my thing, because the biggest thing on that, again, because of the pricing getting cheaper as things progress, I'm able to pay. I think I'm paying like $59 per return to use the software. I didn't have to do this outlay of thousands of dollars for tax prep software. I'm just paying by the return.
Yep.
And that includes my e-filing and everything. So, it's not only that it's the best software for what I need, it's also arguably the least expensive option that I could choose anyways.
I think that that's something that we haven't talked about, but the biggest change with the cloud is the fact that you can rent the software rather than buy it up front with these huge license fees, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think that's also part of the reason. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's part of the reason people have trouble moving to the cloud, because if you're a CPA firm, you've probably invested tens of thousands of dollars in your server infrastructure and your software licenses. And you would think that as accountants, we would understand the concept of a sunk cost.
Yeah.
Right? That just because
you'd hope so.
but emotionally, people get very tied to those servers and those licenses, and they say, "Well, I spent $50,000 over the last 5 years or 10 years on all this equipment. You're telling me I have to give it up, and now I'm going to pay, X dollars per file for QuickBooks or for Xero." Right. And it's a difficult argument to make. to say, well, you're going to see increased efficiencies. So in the long run, it's going to be much better. I think people hold on to that.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, and there are some things too. I mean, not just in terms of sunk costs changing, because again, for me, just internally, not being at a CPA firm, but I wanted to get to because I've been using QuickBooks has been what I've used for, actually that's why I have this job that I have, is that the guy that they didn't have any kind of accounting department before I came on, and they had one guy who kind of knew how to use QuickBooks. So I started on this engagement. I was supposed to train the receptionist on how to use QuickBooks, but she was like this. She was an older lady, and she was the sweetest lady in the world. And she'd sit next to me with a like a legal pad of paper, taking notes as I told her what to do. And then she'd just lean over and pat me on the knee and just go, "I don't really want to do any of this. I'm going to retire pretty soon." And kind of like you're a cute young man, and what you're saying is you're giving this a really good effort, but I don't plan on learning any of this. So I ended up getting hired by the company to be the in-house accountant. But like I said, my doorway in was QuickBooks. I always wanted to get to either the place I wanted to go and where we finally got to was hosted QuickBooks, but under our former management, he was way overspending. Our expenses were way out of control. So I couldn't justify saying, let's spend $60 a month to do hosted QuickBooks when I knew it would cost me like $300 or less to get a premise-based version of it. Now that we're on it, it's one of those things that liberated me a lot and made me so much more efficient. It's unbelievable. So much more efficient. It's unbelievable.
Well, you can now work from your undisclosed location.
Right. I can, from my kill room. Exactly. And nobody cares. So yeah, but so it's
actually
great.
Working
but it wasn't
Area 51, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's one of those things where we did, I could, until we made some pretty major changes in our spending to free up the budget, it was an increased outlay that we have to pay to do the hosted QuickBooks. But like I said, it's worth it for what we got going on.
So it sounds like the moral of the story here is to have a boner, eat some cheese, and get cloud-based. That's exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah, or at least have a friend with a boner, eat some cheese, and get cloud-based. Yeah,
gotcha. Let your friends experiment.
Yeah. Well, that's the way. That's worked for me. I think it's a decent model. So,
so I know we have like 5-6 minutes left. So what is the takeaway? So we can't change other accountants' minds. What do you think the solution is? Like, what is the solution for stopping this craze of talking about the cloud all the time?
I think mostly shame. I think if we can shame people, that'll change their behavior. So, and I think, I don't know. I don't think my post for Thrival, I'd love it if that was a game changing piece of insight into it. But I think if we just start calling people out publicly and just going, the cloud's boring. No one gives a crap anymore about the cloud. I think that's going to go a long way because that's really, the way you get. So again, if you look at that adoption of innovation curve that we've talked about, where you've got your early adopters who just want it because it's new and shiny, you've got your early majority who are interested in it for whatever reason because they feel like it will give them a competitive advantage for what they've seen, and it's also somewhat tried and true. But then when you start getting into the late majority, those people are like, oh, this is kind of the way everything's happening, so might as well jump on board. And then the laggards don't get on board until that's like their only option. That's like what you were saying, Blake. When Intuit says you can't buy the CDs or download this off the internet anymore. You got to go to Intuit online. That's when laggards go, well, damn it. Now you're forcing me to do this, so I guess I will. That's how the laggards get on board. So we can't, I don't think we can do much. Software developers can do a lot. And I think it's clear that the future is going to be everybody just saying, forget it. I've used TurboTax. I mean, it was forever ago that I did it, and you went to Costco and you got the CD. But now, like, I went to Costco and I was just like, I don't think it was quite this bad, but I saw their giant display of TurboTax boxes, and I think I was just pushing my cart with this look of like going, what the hell? What's in that box? Do you buy the box
postcard
that says www.turbotax.com, and that's it
with a code that you use, to sign up to pay for it. You pay for you're buying a code at the register at Costco, and then you go home and you type that code into the website.
So it's TurboTax. So it's not, you can't. So is that to download it onto your computer or to use it online? Because I know TurboTax online, or do we not know?
Yeah, I don't know if they have I think they still have the desktop.
That's why I was so confused at Costco. What the hell is happening with I don't know. And so
I don't even have a CD drive that I can use anymore. I'd have to dig it up.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I think. Do I have? I still have a CD drive.
Well, I would recommend everyone do what I do. That is, literally, don't even give out your physical address of your headquarters, because we live in the cloud. So,
right.
It's 123 Stratosphere Lane. That's where we're at. Right. And no one.
That's really funny.
Any of my clients know where our headquarters is. Like, no one knows.
What's really funny is using a service like earthclass mail, and then you get to know all the addresses that so earthclass mail, if you don't know about it, it's you can get a PO box or a street address in most of the major cities in the US, and the mail is scanned for you.
Okay.
And it's funny. It's funny
nice.
when I go to websites of startups and I see that they have the same street address as me. Because it's just they're using earthclass mail, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world.
That's awesome. So it's a service where you give that address out, anything that goes in there, they just scan it and send you the PDF of whatever came in the mail for you.
Yeah, it's like an email inbox, but for your physical
awesome.
mail. Yeah, and I love it.
That's pretty cool.
I normally send things by way of pigeon, and so
good. And pigeons technically are in the cloud, so good call on that.
You're absolutely correct.
With enough altitude, at least they get up there. But yeah, but seriously, I think a lot of it is just to call BS on anybody who's still championing it because it's a done issue. And with that, you're basically that's the signal to the late majority where it's like, this has happened. You just accept it. Just be fatalistic and go, I guess I got to move to the cloud, and just effing do it.
So Greg, I have a very important question for you to wrap things up.
Okay, lay it on me.
So I call myself on my website and on my LinkedIn, I call myself a cloud accountant. So what do I do now that term is apparently no longer hip and fashionable, according to you? What do I call myself?
That's a great question.
We may have to have you back to answer that question. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Because, I would just say you'd have to call yourself an accountant. Really, it's becoming less of a differentiator. I still think the idea, because I think what you're going for is not, hey, everybody, I'm amazing because the software I use is based in cloud. I think what you're going for is you're saying you're a virtual accountant, that I don't care where you live, I can serve you. So I think
I've always had a problem. Growing up in the 90s, I've always had a problem with the word virtual, because it reminds me of some really, really terrible technology trends like the virtual boy. And remember when everyone thought virtual reality was going to be so cool?
Yeah,
back in the 90s, and it was awful and terrible. Yeah. Like that. I have flashbacks to that every time I hear the word virtual.
Right. Well, I think the idea. I think that's the idea. Is right. Is that there has to be some kind of word, because you're not signaling that you use cloud-based software and that's awesome. What you're signaling is that you can take any customer anywhere and you can serve them in a robust manner, regardless of where they're physically located, regardless of where you're physically located. And yeah, if you hate the term virtual, I don't have the same aversion to the word virtual because I grew up in the 80s before there was technology. So,
well, so here's the question: what does the word virtual even really mean? Like not real? So I'm a not real accountant.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it's saying, because you're not a CPA, so that also means you're not a real accountant. So
there you go. Perfect. Virtual accountant.
Yeah, let's end the blab with just a punch to the crotch.
I just got taken down by Greg Kyte, and it felt so good.
Hey, real quick, Greg, for everyone who's watching, I want you to promote yourself. Tell everyone how they can know more about your awesomeness and your being in the July cover of Sexy Accountant. So kind of just share to everyone where they can get more of your awesome feedback.
Well, as soon as we're done with this blab, I am going to go and register the domain name sexycpacalendar.com. So you can go to www.sexycpacalendar.com. You should. I think it maybe is going to be a thing. But before I can actually
like this.
Yeah, you should, because those glasses really distort your vision. So you want something to block it out. But before I get that registered and that website up and going, www.gregkyte.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Kyte. My ancestors were bad spellers, so it's Kyte with a Y, not with an I. Yeah.
I like that. I like that better.
It's more extreme. It's kind of it's what the kids like.
Well, before we leave, we like to do a funny GIF of the final end of the blab. So let me get my glasses on.
Okay.
And let me see how to do this last 30-second share thing. Let me see if I can do that.
Gotcha.
It wasn't working for me earlier. I tried tweeting this stuff out and it didn't tweet. I think it's broken
here. Yeah, I'm hitting last 30 seconds here. It's not.
Oh, it did work, but it posted way late.
Well, let's try one anyway. Let's try one anyways, and we'll see if we can grab a GIF. All right, so I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1, go for it. All right, I think we should be okay. All right.
Oh, he's being abducted.
Yeah, we were going for it.
All right, Greg. Thanks for joining us, man. You've been awesome. We'll do this again.
It was a blast, man. You guys are great. Love what you're doing, and again, thanks for the inspiration. For we've been having so much fun doing blabs, and I don't think we would have known about without you guys. So thanks a million. The official sponsor is Fritos.
The official sponsor of this blab was Fritos. So thank you to Fritos.
Nice.
Thanks everyone who watched. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Follow us on blab.im/appshowhq. Take care.